I was born in 1980.
Mm.
At that point, you still had 20 more years to go with the canal.
Sure.
So there were soldiers, there were American people, and that you had your installations. Like back then, let's say Star Wars, for example, opened a new movie in May. There was a theater inside of the Canal Zone showing that movie in May. The regular Panama theaters showed it in July or August, maybe.
Interesting.
So we kind of got accustomed that, hey, like the other side of that fence, everything seems to be cooler, like faster, better. You have Popeyes. We didn't have Popeyes. I don't know why. But then you also had a channel. It was called the Southern Command Network, SCN. And since it was an open broadcast, everybody could get it. So if I put Channel 8 on my TV, I got the American content. So that was Saturday morning cartoons, new episodes of Ninja Turtles, and all that good shit. Only that in English. So basically, it was kind of like either you learn to speak it or you're missing the cool cartoons and you have to wait 4 years so we get the crappy dub version.
Oh,
So,
interesting. So is that how you learn to speak English, like through TV or like? Wow, that's really cool, man.
I was in kindergarten in '86, and I kept watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Transformers and G.I. Joe on SCN on Saturdays, and my dad was like, "You seem to like that," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't understand shit." And he's like, "Well, maybe if you watch more of it, you will like it better." I was like, "Okay, cool." So he got cable, and back then, cable meant just basically watching other countries' channels. Like if I had cable, I had like ABC, CBS, whatever. It was just a straight signal. There were no cable channels except HBO. That was great.
Scrambled.
So basically,
starting to see where your colorful language comes from. If that's how you learned to speak English, was through HBO.
Exactly. So basically, I learned by watching several TV shows. I loved MTV and all that crap. And then catastrophe struck in 1993. They made MTV Latino, which was basically a Mexican channel just for cable. Then they made HBO Ole, which was the Latin American version of HBO, and it just kept going from there. So then basically they made all the just channels that had the American content, but either dubbed or subtitled, and always delayed from the original American version. It was never live. Like for all the '90s, when I watched Friends and I watched Seinfeld in the Sony channel, by the way, for some reason that was the Sony channel. It was always about 2 to 3 weeks behind the current releases in the United States. It was better than watching it on locals, but
Was that though, like, I mean, 93, the internet wasn't really like a thing. So it's not like you were getting spoiled in a Facebook group on what was happening. It was just the knowledge of knowing this is a few weeks behind.
Oh, when I figured that out in about 97, I was pissed. Like I got internet around 1996 or 97. I don't remember. But then I could Google stuff and I was like, what the fuck? What are they talking about? I haven't seen this. And it was like 5 episodes ahead. I spoiled myself some twists.
You found out about Ross and Rachel through the internet.
I think actually one of the worst parts was that I never really got into Seinfeld early. So I really got into Seinfeld in around season 7 or 8. So I watched like a really solid season. I'm like, this is great. And then the next thing I know is like, I'm ending the show. And I'm like, what? Why? It's great. It's like, I want to go out on top. And that I just watched the last season of Seinfeld. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I had to go back and watch 7 seasons.
Can you do the rest of the show as Jerry Seinfeld?
that was pretty decent. I think the question that Nick and I are both thinking is, can you give us the Panamanian video store experience? Like what? Like, did you have Blockbuster?
We did eventually.
Okay.
This is the thing, and remember, it's Latin America.
Yeah.
So the law for copyright and stuff like that is not as strict for you guys because we don't produce that shit. So if I'm pretty sure, like if the owner was here, of the films, it would be different. But the way I grew up, there was a video club in my neighborhood called Emmy Video. They had Betamax and VHS tapes, and they literally get the one, and they made their own copies to rent out.
That's awesome.
In '95, I distinctly remember, because like I said, by this, like, I don't think we started getting like same day releases for movies until the 2000s. Even Phantom Menace was like 2 months behind, which it wasn't bad. It used to be worse. But around '95, we were all very excited about the Mortal Kombat movie, but we haven't gotten it yet. So I go into the video store, and the guy has fucking Mortal Kombat playing. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's like Scorpion fighting Johnny Cage. And I'm like, dude, how? And he's like, yeah, I just got it. I was like, can you rent that shit to me? And he's like, come back in an hour. And I'm like, why? I'm actually recording it right now.
Oh my God.
He was playing it on the video store TV and had 2 other VHS hooked up.
So he's like, yeah, so that's crazy.
That's hysterical.
So that was like cool. I went out, I got some food at the fucking Burger King that was like 3 doors down. Came back, got my copy of Mortal Kombat for $1. They used to be $1 in the '90s to rent out movies. Blockbuster showed up. Well, there were actually 2 types of video stores. This is the one closer to my house. My favorite one was called Video El Dorado, and it was, I'd say, about 45 minutes in a bus away from me, but it was like on my way to school, because we don't have schools like walk distance here. It's all complicated. So the thing is that in that video store, they were like, first of all, they had like 3 times the movies everybody had for some reason. I don't know. Like most of the video stores, they concentrated on the blockbuster movies, like the popular ones. These people have the random shit. Like they had Man on the Moon. That movie didn't even open here in the theaters. That's the way I saw it, like on them, their video store. And they were like, yeah, what do you want? You can take whatever you want. I'm like, how much is it? He's like, well, it's like $2, but you get to keep it for a week. And also, you pay when you bring it back. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, you don't have to drop anything. Just give us your data, your number, whatever, and your address, and take the movies and bring it back in a week, and then you pay us.
It's kind of like the library. Like, you can take it for free, but if you don't bring it back, like
no, it sounds like you're supposed to pay when you bring it back, regardless. But I'm guessing that Nazario, Wazario, Lazario, and Fazario all checked out a lot of movies that they didn't bring back.
I did, but I also had my own extra VHS at home.
You made copies yourself.
When I love the movies,
I get that. Like,
yeah,
Nazario and I, like, we have like you said you were born in 1980, so we got a 15-year age difference, but which is, I hope, is disgusting to you, Nazario. I want you to know. But
I'm old as fuck. Yeah,
and Nick is younger than I am. So
by like 2 months. What are we doing? You're like,
younger.
Nazario and I have a 15-year age difference.
You're younger than me. You and I have a 15-year age difference. You're 15 years old. Look at you. But no, when I was a kid, I did the same fucking thing, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and so like when Spider-Man came out on DVD, I would put it in the DVD player, put a VHS in the VHS player, and record the DVD playing, and then I had Spider-Man on VHS, and I watched that shit a billion times, like illegal as fuck, but my parents didn't know. I was just a kid that like figured out like, hey, my sister was recording Friends on VHS. I could do the same thing with a DVD.
You were probably
every time I went on vacation, it was like fucking like a math science test. I was like, okay, I'm gonna set up the VHS. It has to record this day from this time to this time, and then this day and this time and this time. It's gonna run out about here with tape. I'm gonna call my aunt. She's gonna switch the tapes. And it's gonna go record. And when I came back, I had like 3 or 4 tapes stacked up. And my aunt sometimes forgot to change the tapes, so she fucking ruined the thing. But when it worked, it was beautiful. You know, the one thing I wanted to mention about the other rental system, the one you pay when you big back, I think it was just a kind of a psychological thing too, because when they tell you can take whatever, you don't have to pay. I took like 4 fucking movies, like 4 or 5 movies.
Yeah.
So when I come back a week later, I'd say like, well, 2 of them sucked and 3 were okay. And I give it back. She's like, it's $10. I'm like, okay. You pay the $10, and you're like, shit, I'm just paying money and I'm getting nothing. I might as well take another 5 since I'm already spending the money. And yeah, it kind of becomes like a loop.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I feel like
I forgot once to return a movie for a month.
Hang on, guys. I got to someone's calling me. I really need to get it. So
okay,
just
go
give me 1 second.
I once forgot to return a movie for a month. I don't even remember what the movie was. And when I went back to the guy, he's like, okay, you owe me a bunch of fucking money. And I'm like, cool. I know these are stolen. What do you want to do? He's like, give me $5. I'm like, okay, I'll give you $5.
Oh my God. That's crazy. The thing that I think you and me and Mike talked about a long time ago, which I'm sure you've had this conversation with many people, but the concept of the video store, right? Like, was so formative for like I think a lot of people. Like obviously you and Mike, it was very formative for you guys. You've kind of made.
I think we both worked eventually at a video store.
See, I never did. I applied actually in high school, and my senior year of high school, I applied for the video store. But at that time, it was a family video, and that store actually closed maybe 2 years later. So I'm glad I didn't end up doing it. Like the working at the theater ended up being the right path, but it's the concept of the video store, of like going in there and just like looking at things. Like I was always very like, what are the new releases? Like what's new that's coming out? That's always been my thing. And like if you look at my letterbox, you can clearly see that I'm obviously way more into the new stuff. But when you did find something that was like 10, 15 years older than you are, that you never knew existed, that was just like something totally crazy, random. Like I vividly remember being like 12. There's Nick. I vividly remember being like 12 and finding Texas Chainsaw Massacre on VHS and being like, "What's this?" And I had just
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I had just gotten into like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and stuff.
At 12.
Oh yeah.
Fuck that, man. I got on that shit earlier. Mike too, by the way.